The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. The World Center of Racing, of course, in Speedway, Indiana, famous rectangle oval since 1909. In the early 2000s, when Formula One decided that they wanted to take their stab at this circuit, they built the infield road course, and it's been used off and on for approximately 20 years now. We've seen Formula One, we've seen IndyCar, and we even have seen NASCAR taking their stab at it. But tonight, the Red Sox Racing League rolls out into a new season after their summer hiatus. Welcome everybody to our channel, PTR TV, for round one of the Red Sox Racing League in their fall GT3 series, round number 4, series number 4. I always get that naming convention screwed up. Either way, it's going to be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth and in the production truck here, kind of doing the solo show and giving you all of the calls. Again, it's been about, I'd say, roughly 2 months or so since we've had some Red Sox action here on the channel, so good to kind of get back into the swing of it here and see what these guys are made of. We will have a lot of the same names that you will have been used to in the past, but we of course have some new drivers here to try to throw their hat into the ring and see what they can offer here. Just had to update a little internal setting here, but qualifying is underway. There's about a minute or so left in it, and we'll pull up our pylon right now, and you can see a dead heat on the top of the board right now for our pole position. You have Mitch Heller and Mark Kadrowski leading the standings right now with 1:25.24. Be interesting to see if one of them can eclipse that lap time. Of course, Mitch Heller has always been a very good driver here in this series. He's been on a little bit of a hiatus himself, if I remember correctly. He did undergo an injury and wasn't able to race through that because, of course, sim racing can be a little bit difficult to race through with our setups, our force feedback, our rigs. You know, a lot of drivers have these very stiff pedals, so if you are undergoing an injury, it can actually be quite difficult to work through that. But let's take a look at the board right now. Kadrowski is coming through the back end of the circuit. He's rounding turn number 10 right now. Now turn number 11 is a little bit of a crest that goes inside of turn number 2 oval. Now we head back onto the turn 1 and 2 chute and into a little bit of a kink here that will put you back onto the turn 1 and 2 section here. I'll pull up the qualifying graphic. You can see Kadrowski does have that time to beat, but he will not be trying to beat that, coming to the attention of his crew. Mitch Heller, is he going to go for that pole position, or will he relent and keep himself in? Well, I guess he will do that as well. David Berry, he's 5th on the watch, not too far back. Again, very, very tight times here, and David Berry will remain. Looks like that last lap was invalidated, so no further growing from him. Les Turner, 1:25.71. He will go a little bit faster and get himself, well, keep himself in the same spot, but running just a little bit faster on that time around. So as the timer runs down, I believe we will have maybe about a minute and a half warm cool down session. So anybody who is on a live lap should have the ability, yes, 2 minutes we're being given to just complete the lap that they are on. Our weather conditions here from virtual Indianapolis. We got a 70-degree air temp, 76 on the track. It is 7:30 approximately sim time, so we'll be taking maybe this to about 8:15. We do use our default date, which is based off of May 15th. So you might see the headlights turn on, but it's still going to be well within the scope of daylight here. And of course, our track status is dry, and no weather will be interrupting our session here. We did have our rain race in our last time around. If I don't even remember when it was, probably back in July. I know we had our rain race at Monza, and hasn't been updated to see whether or not we're still going to be doing wet weather races in any capacity, but probably keeping it dry, I would imagine. You got Dwayne McCarthy in the, I believe to be newly released McLaren 720S GT3 Evo there. You can see he's got that Tim Hortons livery there. So we have a scope of different cars. We got some Porsches, we got Ferraris, we got a Corvette, we got an Audis, we got multiple Audis, somebody even in the Mustang GT3. So probably the most diverse grid we have had in quite some time within this series. So we'll see which of these manufacturers will prevail. Of course, Indianapolis being a track that does require both straight line speed and the downforce and the agility to get through these flat technical corners. So we'll see who can be the best in that regard. But if it's your first time here to PTR TV, if you're a new driver, new fan of a driver, on our mission to 1,400 subscribers, need your help to get us there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Just help us out with that little couple clicks, and it will help the league and, of course, help us in our eminent growth. But that is the end of qualifying, so these drivers will be ready and raring on to the racetrack to get tonight's efforts underway. So we'll go and meet them there with our PTR TV starting lineup here at Indy. Getting tonight's efforts off from the front row is going to be none other than Mark Kudrowski in the number 944 with Mitch Heller to his outside. We got a Porsche and a Ferrari starting things off. Todd Pietri in third with Brian Irby in the fourth spot. I do want to note that these times are uber close. David Berry in fifth. Les Turner, our league admin, in the sixth position here out of Canada. Rich Minkler in seventh. Andrew Humphrey going to be in the eighth spot. Rounding out our top 10 is David Fernandez and Chris Sherburne. 11th place will find Dennis Griffin, league veteran here, along with Dwayne McCarthy, another league veteran here in the 12th spot. Just talked about him. Nathan Lafayette in 13th. Matt Hurley in the 14th spot. 18 cars here on the grid. Here are the last two rows. Kevin Kyle, another league veteran. Sean Reese in the 16th position. In our final row, row number 9. We'll have to validate that livery there because the preview looks pretty crazy. That's Dale Green in 17th, and then Gerald Livingston in the Red Sox mobile in 18th. I do know this league has kind of underwent a pseudo name change here in sort of capacities. I know that Copyright and Facebook have kind of retorted us to sort of change the name. I think we're still going with Red Sox, even though in some capacities we are just RSRL now, just to appease Facebook AI. I know Les Turner has gone through quite the league conundrum here, trying to get the Facebook page up and at it. But we are going to have about a half lap pace around this place. I'd love to show you a track map. In fact, well, let me see if I can. I'll try to move this here. Our track map here at Indianapolis is as follows here. You can see where we are on circuit. They're currently bending to the right here down through that curve, and then we head into our final chicane here. Of course, this track was updated a few seasons ago on iRacing. We did have a different configuration that this track was built with Formula One. in the very beginning. So they are switching back. Rather than switching back to that, we have our new layout now. I think this is the second time Red Sox has run on it. But the pace car is going to bear to the left here through turn number 13, and then turn number 14 is the final corner here. The driver is going to need to get tidied up here because we have a lot of spacing in between them. They'll try to get tidied up here heading into the start zone. Barney is going to have the green flag in hand. He's got it staged. He's just getting ready to wave it. Our fall GT3 series is green here from the Brickyard. The famous run down into turn number 1 here at Indianapolis. Hard right hand 90-degree turn. Everybody hard on the binders. Of course, we know this league is very, very strict on making sure that everybody binds their P's and Q's. We want to get everybody up to speed, everybody through the first couple corners. And then we want to get the good stuff on and at it here. It looks like everybody will do just that. No spins as we're going through the little chicane here, turns 5 and 6. Everybody hopping that curb. Don't want to get a slowdown. Don't want to damage the car. And now we head down the long interior straightaway into turn number 7. Another hard left-hand braking corner here. So passes can certainly be made here. Everybody getting through. 8 and 9, little complex here just behind that main grandstand. You can see off in the back. And then turn number 10, a right-hander. Turn number 11, kind of the little kink here that gets you back onto the oval and then back into the chicane. The kind of, it's not so much a chicane, but kind of a really sharp bus stop. I don't know what we want to call this here, but two little quick corners here. You know, back in the day, they would actually run backwards on the oval turn 1 here, but you know the speeds ended up being super fast, a little bit too fast there, so they had to add a little interior flick there to slow things down. That's the Rolex car, Sean Reese and Dale Green. This is all the way at the back of the field, but this is the tightest action that we have. That really slick looking ride. I'm somebody who really, that is like my ideal color palette right there. If there was a little bit more blue, a little less gray to that, kind of inverse those colors, and I would run that scheme myself. Dale Green there in that number 250. But going to the front of the field, you can see Mark Kadrowski is out by 1 second over Mitch Heller. Mitch Heller, he was always a dominant driver. Of course, when this league was a multi-class series, he was always battling with the likes of a Ryan Robertson or a Ross Booth. But then we've switched to GT3, and of course he hasn't been as present due to, you know, his personal situations. But even when he wasn't the same driver. Maybe like those high downforce LMPs, those hypercars, that seems to be more his bread and butter. These, you know, slower, heavier GT3 cars, you know, they suit certain drivers. And evidently Mark Kadrowski is going to be set up for success here today. Now he's already up to 1 1/3 seconds. But a point of Mark Kadrowski we've seen in the past is, and I don't want to jinx him here, I'm going to knock on my particle board desk here. Mark Kadrowski has also been known in the past to have a lot of self-induced mistakes. We've seen him have pit speed penalties, you know, self-spins, just taking himself out of races that were otherwise going to be his. So hopefully he has, you know, dug deep internally, cleared his, you know, himself out, and, you know, if he's going to get past, you know, get past, but don't take yourself out of the race. Going back to the 6th spot, Scooby-Doo in that 14 car, that is David Berry. Rich Minkler thought he was going to take a little optimistic dive there into, I believe it was 7, but he'll choose not to. Going on board here. Exiting turn number 10, now into 11. And then you could see that sun is right in these drivers' eyes as they make the right-hand turn into turn number 12. Switch back. There is the pit lane bearing off to the right there. You'll see them make that pit stop probably anytime within the next 20 minutes. And then back on to the oval, of course, in the opposite of normal direction. One thing that has not changed is our sequence of pit stops here within the series. Of course, they do have, I don't think I brought it up, but our race details, we do have the limited fuel load and one fast repair within a 30-minute race, and then there's points per incident. So if, I think every six incident points he gets, it does decay off of your race point standing, so that's just more motivation to keep things green. But we've seen many different strategies over the years, and here's a strategy. Here's Rich Minkler going for a pass. He's going to go hard on the binders into turn number 7. He's going to have the ideal line, but now on the switchback turn number 8, it's going to go back to the 14. They're going to go side by side through this technical section, and still no clear-cut decider of who's going to get the spot, but it looks like the 908 got the position on corner exit. He will clear. Then you got Andrew Humphrey in that Ford Mustang GT3 newly released here on the iRacing service. Thought he was going to take a stab at it, but there goes Rich Minkler into the dirt there in turn number 12. Manages to keep the vehicle under control, and hopefully he can get himself a good bite down the straightaway. But that slipstream is very, very vital here down this straightaway at Indy. You could see there 0.2 of a second starting to go down, go down, go down. And now you hit the braking zone. He takes a look. He might just be trying to get Minkler to look in the mirror, maybe cause him to make a mistake, but doesn't dive it in for the pass attempt. Now this is the best battle on track by far, as Scooby-Doo is trying to hold on to the spot of Andrew Humphrey there. Let's see, hopping the curbs, that load diffuser getting off the curbs, it's kicking up some sparks. Of course, as daylight does start to degrade here, the sparks and probably the brake rotors will start to glow here. Always kind of cool to see, just from an aesthetics perspective. Someone I've kind of ignored here, but not for, you know, not to any ill intent, just haven't quite spoken of him on the evening. Todd Marin-Pietri in that, or Marin-Petrie, kind of take your pick there. He kind of goes by either, but he's in third, about a second behind Mitch Heller, who is kind of stabilizing out at about that 1.4 to 1.2, somewhere in that ballpark. He's running right in that range here. If I pull up my battle tracker graphic, you can see a 25.7, 25.72, separated by 1,000th of a second, and then Marin-Pietri just back there by about maybe 0.08 of a second. So those top three are under a blanket here on the evening, and that may come into play here and force pit stops to be even more important than they already are. Hard on the brakes into turn number 7. There goes everybody, and trying to figure out here where the advantages lie. It does appear through the technical sections that Heller has a little bit of an advantage, but it does seem in the straight line that Kedrowski may have the upper hand. We'll take a look at that and kind of validate it as they come through the 12 through 14 complex here. Well, that time, yeah, Heller took a really big chunk out on the brakes, but now we're going to get on the power and just watch that gap on the ticker. It went down to as low as 0.8 of a second, and now it's going to a race high of 1.5 seconds. So I think Mitch Heller may have been a little bit too optimistic there on the brakes, trying to eat out of that lead. And then, of course, when you go hard into the corner, usually you sacrifice on corner exit. These guys are still going at it here in the mid-pack. Rich Minkler and Les Turner. Looks like Minkler may be closing in on that number 01 car, the Batmobile Audi of Les Turner, entering turn number 7. So Les Turner may have to look in his rear view as things may be getting a little bit spicy here. And that does, the train is not too far back. We've talked about Berry and Humphrey to a great extent. And then you go back to the orange and blue Porsche of David Fernandez. He's starting to close in on these guys. He wants to have some fun within this battle. And then just behind that, we're bringing in Sherburne. We're bringing in Dennis Griffin. So all of this is stemming behind Les Turner. Now, I'm not going to go on an ultimate limb and say Les Turner is slowing all these guys up. But, it's kind of like the traffic effect. If Minkler is slowed up a tiny bit, that may cause everybody else to just react. Then everybody starts running a massively slower pace. Saw Minkler took a big dive attempt, but a lot of times when people do that, they're just trying to get you to look in the rearview mirror. They don't have any intent to make the pass. They just want to get you thinking. They want you to look in that rearview mirror, and that way that happens. Les Turner made a mistake, and that'll cost him a few spots. A little bit of a tap there unintentionally through the kink to David Fernandez. Fernandez loses a bunch of time and perhaps a spot to Sherburne. But Sherburne will allow him to recoup here. We'll go back on replay, see what happened to Les there. We'll check it out from our blimp cam. You can see Les just kind of, a little bit hard into the corner. Just the rear end came out. And that was all, well, presumably some of it, if not all of it, stemmed from the pressure that he was being applied to by Minkler. That, when you pull out a line, you're trying to get the guy to think. You're trying to get the guy to react. You're trying to get the guy behind you to make those moves. And that gave Minkler the spot, and he will have another 2 seconds gap if he wants to get another one. Dennis Griffin he is now right to the back bumper of Les Turner. Les trying to recover after that little faux pas. Other things we got going on, looks like Humphrey and Berry are going back at it, or there is in close proximity, but I will say back up front, the gap going down to 1 second. And just as I say that, same thing, second verse, same as the first. Mitch Heller gained so much time on the stopwatch entering the final corner, and then loses it all on the straightaway. I think Les Turner, he has decided to come to the pits here just at about the halfway point. Dwayne McCarthy here in that 003, closing in on Dennis Griffin. That's going to be for the 10th spot here, the Tim Hortons McLaren. And then you got Dennis Griffin also driving that new McLaren here. They're coming on the back straightaway into turn number 7. Yeah, things here at the halfway point. Not too much going on the racetrack right now, but we are waiting for these pit stops to happen. The top three separated by about 3.5 seconds, about a second and a half between each one. There's still, as I switch the ticker over to lap times, Kadrowski running about 2/10 up on Heller, and then Marin Petri about a half second back. So we'll definitely see between how much fuel guys add and how conservative and or aggressive they are. It'll be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. Talked about Marin Petri with the self-induced mistakes he's had. Mitch Heller, I could also say the same exact thing about Mitch Heller, and I know he's actually brought it up to his family members, and they've brought it up saying, your commentator is too rough on you, and Heller said, no, he's not. He's telling the truth. I make a lot of mistakes. So will any of these top two just kind of dig into their past, or will they kind of turn a new leaf here? And will Heller turn a new leaf and be able to win one of these GT3 races? But let's see what happens here coming through 14. Now we are past halfway here, 14 minutes left to go. Leaders remaining on track. Minkler is just the attention child here today. Here he is closing in on Brian Irby for the 4th spot. Coming down the back straightaway here. See, everybody goes nice and wide. And I'll tell you, oh, no, that's why he went wide. I was going to say they're racing a really aggressive line here. Technically, that light surface there on the back straightaway is in play. That's why you see guys going very wide. But I was going to say, I don't expect at this juncture in the race to see Irby going down to black to going down in block there. So obviously he's just getting out of the way. Could tell Minkler has a piece to play with here. He's 8.5 seconds back, so he will require something to get his race you know, put up to the next level here. But we have had 3 pit stops. McCarthy, I dismissed his pit stop. Les Turner and Kevin Kyle, a name we haven't really spoken of here in the race. Talked about him, of course, on the grid. But Kevin Kyle, he is shotgun on the field, but the bottom 3 have all pit, still waiting on our top guys. Just past halfway here in the Red Sox Racing League Fall GT3 Series 4. I think I got that verbiage right. Again, being race number 1, our next race here on the schedule. If I can find the schedule document here, we will be at Fuji next week. That is a very, very difficult track there in Japan. A lot of sharp corners. Track that is still relatively new to the service. It's kind of an underused track on the service, so not sure how much experience the guys will have, but I'm sure they will bring their best. We'll head to no, I'm reading the calendar wrong here. Fuji is the special event on IMSA next week. We will be at Brands Hatch next week, race number 2. So omit what I just said. Brands Hatch is a very, very interesting track. As Dennis Griffin coming into the pits. Brands Hatch, a track that has a lot of elevation change, very narrow at points, very undulating, naturally flowing. Doesn't have any obvious braking, any obvious passing zones, so you really kind of have to force your way, which can make it a very interesting track. Imola, of course, a Formula One circuit. VIR, kind of a league staple going there. Zolder, I will say in the PTR TV history of Red Sox, we have never gone to Zolder. And how do I know that? Because I still don't even own the track myself. I have to make a purchase for it. But yeah, in the 7 years of PTR TV history, that will be a first going to Circuit Zolder. And then Twin Ring Motegi will round out our season. And then we will start things off with series number 5 here on the season. And that will take us basically to the end of the year. But we're closing in on now 10 minutes. So estimated 6 to 7 laps left in this race. And we still have yet to see pit stops from our heavy hitters. Our top drivers still on circuit. You can see a pass attempt here. Well, here comes Brian Irby into the pits. Remember, he was just being discussed as he was getting passed by, I think it was Minkler a few laps ago. Nathan Lafayette, the 00, he's coming to the attention of his crew. But up front, Kedrowski has stabilized his lead and extended his lead. He's now up by 2.25 seconds over Mark Kedrowski. So again, he is just running consistently about a 1/10 to 2 faster every single time around this circuit. He hasn't made a mistake. He hasn't, if he's gone off, it's not been anything drastic. He's done exactly what he needs to do. Run a nice consistent race, back up your qualifying time, not break down under any pressure. Mitch Heller still doing a great job, but let's see what happens through this time through the complex. Will either of them make that right-hand bearing into the pits? They will. It won't be Kedrowski. It won't be Heller. Will it be Marin Pietri? It will not. So they are going for the latest possible pit stop here. Is Minkler, Humphrey. Again, nobody is making the break into the pits. Just as I say that, and I lose the camera sight here, we do have a couple drivers. That's going to be Scooby-Doo. That's David Berry and David Fernandez here. The David and Davids will come to the pits. So they are just going to need a splash of fuel here. Just for about maybe 6.5 minutes of racing. They are just going to have the shortest pit stop, which is going to put a lot of pressure on every other bit of execution. Marin Pietri is far enough behind that he's not going to be able to pit strategy his way up here, but Heller is still close enough that he may be able to still kind of race his way up there if he has a good enough stop. If he can gain maybe a half second on entry, under fuel him by a couple tenths, and then really get on that outlap into turn 1 good, he still could be one to compete with. And he doesn't need to get the run down the front straightaway on the pit lap. He just needs to dive it into turn number 12, gain all that time that he's really good at. But here comes Kedrowski, and Heller is going to remain on circuit. Very tight walls here, hard on the brakes here, hitting that yellow cone as conservatively as you can. I saw, if anything, I think Kedrowski hit that cone slow, and there comes Marin Pietri behind. But I do think Kedrowski hit that cone slow, but per what I've said before, I think he would rather do that, cut into that 2-second buffer he has rather than speed and lose it on that capacity. So I don't expect tires should not mean anything. We've never changed tires within the series, so I think everybody's maybe a couple tenths off their top pace, but of course tires won't come in. It's not going to be a tire undercut. It's just going to be a matter of execution and maybe a few tenths of fuel. Kedrowski just now leaving his box. Let's see what his details are. 7 seconds worth of fuel and a 51.3 lane time. That's not fully conducive because that doesn't count the pit inroad. And actually, I'm having flashbacks now. I feel like Kedrowski butchered this race one year on that pit out, hitting that cone too early. So hopefully he didn't do that. That pit exit cone, it's very easy to blend it too quickly. But here comes Mitch Heller into the attention of his crew. And we'll see how everything shakes out here. How are these guys going to blend together? Will Kedrowski have a bigger lead? Or will he have a smaller lead, and will we have more of a race on our hands? I guess we'll find that out together. Here comes Andrew Humphrey in his Mustang. And then Sherburne, he will come in his Mustang. Wonder if that's a thing with Fords. Maybe they're getting a little bit better mileage, but that will conclude the pit cycle here with 5 minutes left in the race. Just about 3 laps of action. Saw a 7-second pit stop for Kedrowski. Here comes Heller in, and let's get the timing. Let's see what it ends up being. He's in the box. Watch that time go up. How much fuel is going into that race car? A skosh more. Here comes Kedrowski. Let's see. Here comes Kedrowski exiting the pits, and there goes that lead. He's going to get it, because Mitch Heller had to heed to the pit speed for just a little bit of time, and I'll tell you, he cut it really close with that blend. They're going to come out, if anything, Kedrowski's going to have about a few tenths of a second bigger lead, and I'll tell you, Kedrowski really cut it close there. We have a second here because there's not too much going on. I want to bring that up. Let's see here on the replay. See, he cut, iRacing is very static about that. He cut that really close. Hopefully that blend line is going to be pretty nice to him, because I would not like to see him have that blend line issue and then drop back to last on the lead lap. Minkler making a pass attempt here with David Berry. Both of these guys lost a significant amount of time through their cycles, because Chris Sherburne, he was not ahead of either of those two, but he has jumped himself now into the 7th spot. David Fernandez, who was battling with them, he is in 7th. Humphrey in 6th. Well, rather in 5th, excuse me. And then our top 4 have been pretty much where they've been all race. Les Turner back to 11th. Remember, he was about 5th or so, and then made that mistake and went off circuit and paid the price for it. Hasn't been able to recover. Lafayette in 12th, Hurley in 13th, Dale Green in 14th, Sean Reese in 15th, Gerald Livingston in 16th, Kevin Kyle 17th, and Dennis Griffin has since retired from tonight's efforts. Let's take a look at our race leader and where we stand. I think, yes, we're going to come to 2 laps to go, because by the time we hit the stripe, it's going to be roughly about minute 55, 2 minutes on the clock. So we're turning laps around this place in about 1 minute 25 seconds. So this is going to be 2 laps to go for Mark Kedrowski. Mitch Heller has seemingly cleared the rules here. He blended very aggressively, but it was legal, which is the important part, so he will get to retain that spot. Going back here to the 5th spot, this is where the battle is. We have David Fernandez in that number 09 car. He's going to have a little bit of a tow behind Andrew Humphrey down the front in that Porsche. Is he going to go and make a move onto turn number 1? He will not. Just behind him is Chris Sherburne, so this is a great little trio here on circuit battling here. And I'll tell you, for Fernandez, that spot means something to me, because as a racer, there's a big difference between a top 5 and a top 10, and he wants that top 5. I'll tell you, Humphrey did not get through that lead up into the kink very well at all, but because he got through it so bad, it actually hurt Fernandez to the point where he couldn't take advantage of it. But now we're going to go hard on the binders into turn number 7. Can't really make any pass attempts right here. All you can do is get close and try to be close enough leading into turn number 12. Well, we're coming down here through turn number 12, 13, and now 14, bending back onto the front straightaway, and Barney has what will be that white flag, and I don't know why he's not waving it on the racetrack. He's waving it behind the fence, but he's waving it to somebody. That's all that matters. One more lap to go here at Indianapolis for Mark Kudrowski. And by the look of that sky, I think we may have some wildfires off in the distance with that hazy looking sky, but that is of minimal significance here. Coming through and from the pole, has just been flawless here all race. Hasn't put a wheel off, hasn't made a mistake, has held off. Mitch Heller really has not been challenged all race, but he does have to make it about a half lap further, about maybe a mile and a half, mile 3/4 from this juncture on the circuit. Now hard on the binders, left hand corner here, switch back here, 8 and 9. Running them just fine, still holding that 2-second gap over the field. Todd Baron-Pietri's falling back to about 6 seconds back just at the end of the shot. But now we're blending through turn number 11, leading ourselves back into the chute for the final sequence of corners here at Indianapolis. Little kiss to the curb there, switch back turn number 13. And turn number 14 could never be finer because it's going to be the final corner here of the lap. First race of the fall campaign is going to go to Mark Kudrowski. MK in the Porsche is going to get the win here in race number 1. Mitch Heller will get himself a second. And Todd Baron-Pietri will round out the podium here at Indianapolis. Great bit of driving by all these guys. Kudrowski, I don't remember the last win he's had, but it's been a little bit of time, so he will be happy to be able to celebrate here as a GT3 winner. Everybody else finishing their laps. Got Lafayette here crossing. Here comes Hurley, Green, and basically wraps it on up here as everybody crosses through. So got a great bit of driving here at Indianapolis for these guys, and congratulations, of course, go to our race winner. They're going to do their cool down lap, and in normal Red Sox fashion, they do need to make it all the way back to the pits under their own power to evade a further points penalty. You can't run out. You have to make it back, per the rules, and to maximize your points. But while they do that, let's go ahead and get you the final rundown of results here today from the Brickyard and start our post-race celebrations here tonight. Getting that win by a final margin of 1.886 seconds. Going to be not Mitch Heller. It's going to be Mark Kudrowski over Mitch Heller. Todd Baron-Pietri just a hair back from 6 seconds, 6.2 in third. You got Brian Irby in fourth, Andrew Humphrey in fifth, David Fernandez in sixth, Sherburne in seventh, David Berry, Rich Minkler, he was higher up but fell back. Dwayne McCarthy rounds out our top 10. Second page is as follows. Les Turner, he had that little faux pas, took him out of the top 5, settles for an 11th here on the day. With Nathan Lafayette in 12th. You got Matt Hurley in 13th. You got Dale Green in 14th. Sean Reese, Gerald Livingston, Kevin Kyle, and Dennis Griffin in 18th. So we're going to wait for these guys to come in and have a brief word with us, but I do have Mitch Heller. He is already here. Mitch, you got me, man?
Yes, I do. How are you doing, Corey?
Good, man. Good to have you back here. I know you had your injury, which held you back, so clearly you're feeling good enough to get back behind the wheel, but that number 944, he had the secret sauce here today. What did
Yes.
you need that he didn't? You know what I meant to say.
Yeah, a lot better driving skills, perhaps. Mark had the pace, and at the beginning of the race, I was really trying to make sure that I got the tires warmed up. And so I was trying to be cautious, being optimistic that perhaps I'd catch up to him, but I could not catch back up to him, and was pushing the car about as hard as I thought that I should be. And fortunately, I was just able to stay just a little bit ahead of Todd, and so it went pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, obviously back in the multi-class era of the league when we were running the hypercars, the LMP2s, and all that fun stuff, you were always at it, top of the board, going for it. But it seems like since the switch to GT3, you've kind of been missing just a little bit. Is that maybe me just making up a drama line, or are you still finding your bearings?
Well, I haven't been spending too much time in the GT3 cars. So lately on iRacing, it's been the Porsche Cup car for the most part, a few other ones. So I think that definitely I need to put a little effort into GT3. It's pretty touchy as far as the traction control is concerned. If you get on the gas a little bit too early, or if you're not just evenly giving it pressure as you go through the corners and turns, it's really quite easy to lose a little bit of time when you screw up like that.
Well, I was bringing up your old history of screwing up self-induced. Well, you and Mark, both problematic in that capacity. Neither of you did it here today. You get a second. We'll see what you can do next week at Brands Hatch, my friend.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right, and I got Todd here, our third place finisher. And Todd, well, very quiet day, but it's a quiet day that ends on the podium, so you can't complain about that. You were pretty close on the qualifying sheets comparative to Mark and Mitch, but again, just kind of settled into your own groove there in third.
Yeah, I didn't have the pace today to keep up with Mark and Mitch. They were just a little bit too fast today.
Yeah, they have that secret sauce, as I was saying, but you've been getting better over the past couple seasons, and now that we are, we're coming back after a hiatus, what's the confidence level? Have you been running some official races and leagues and, getting some confidence so that you can be competitive this season?
I actually took the summer off. I probably ran a handful of races, but just coming back feeling refreshed and build up that confidence each week and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Next week we head to Brands Hatch, so taking away all the big runoff space and all the track width, we head to a very undulating and rather narrow track. What's the confidence level heading there of all places?
I actually enjoyed Brands Hatch quite a bit. Early on in iRacing, when I first joined, I raced that track often, and you never know what's going to happen there. Like you said, it's tight, so we'll see.
All right, well, congrats on getting the podium here today, and we'll catch you next week, see what you can do.
Appreciate it, Corey. Thank you.
No problem, man. Well, and we await our winner here. I don't know if I'm just going to scroll through the good old Discord. He is logged into Discord. Whether or not he has a word with us, so I'm pretty good at rambling here, so we'll see if I could stall out here long enough for perhaps Kadrowski to come in and join us. But overall, a great bit of running by these guys here today. Just a couple final words here. Want to make sure that if you have not subscribed to the channel, that we would appreciate you doing that for us on our mission for 1,400 subscribers. Just need a little bit of help from you guys to get us there. We will be live tomorrow night with the new NASCAR Gen 6 League at Texas Motor Speedway around 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Saturday with the SSRL that we've always had. And then we will be back on Tuesday for AMS, starting the week over with another full week of action. Busiest we've been in quite a while here on the channel, and we don't want you to miss any of it. I have stalled for about as long as I can realistically ramble for. I have nobody else to talk to and nothing else really to talk about. So I guess Mark Kadrowski is just gonna go straight from the car and I guess go straight into the party room here today. So that is going to be Corey signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and I will catch you next time.